Hi friends, welcome back to our e-teaching channel. I'm back with the most interesting, captivating stories of Immortals of Meluha, part 1 of Shiva Trilogy by Amish. In today's episode, we'll see chapter 11, the Neelkanth Unveiled. So before that, as usual, a short recap of previous episode, that is chapter 10, the hooded figure returns. We know that Shiva, Sati, Nandi, Vedani are returning from Mount Manda and they proceed towards Devagiri. In between there is a terrorist attack, and the terrorists who attack are Nagas and few Chandravanshis, and Shiva, Sati and Nandi with Arishanemi soldiers fight back and they win the fight. And from the attack, Shiva finds that it was not a terrorist attack and it was a fight to kidnap Sati. So this is what happens in chapter 10. Now let's move into chapter 11, Neelkanth Unveiled. The next morning, the royal caravan resumed its journey to Devagiri. After spending the night at temporary camp in the clearing. It was not safe to travel at night considering the circumstances. The wounded, including Nandi, were lying in the first 3 carriages and the 5th one. The royal family and Shiva travelled in the 4th. All the soldiers who had fought in the previous day's battle were given the privilege of riding on horses in relative comfort. Brahaspati and Kanakala walked along with the rest of the troops in the morning for the 3 slain Arishtanemi. Parvateshwar, Babravya and 2 other soldiers bore a makeshift wooden palanquin that carried 3 urns containing the ashes of the martyrs. The urns would be given to their families for a ceremonial submersion in the Saraswati. Shiva, Sati and Nandi too wanted to walk, but the doctor insisted they were in no condition to do so. Parvateshwar walked with pride at the bravery of his soldiers. His boys, as he called them, had shown they were made of a metal forged in Lord Indra's own furnace. He cursed himself for not being there to fight with them. He castigated himself for not being there to protect his goddaughter Bes Sati when she was in danger. He prayed for the day when he would finally get a chance to destroy the cowardly Chandravanshis. He also silently pledged that he would anonymously donate his salary for the next 6 months to the families of the slain soldiers. Even I did not think he would fall to these levels, exclaimed Daksha in disgust. Shiva and Sati, comfortably asleep in the carriage, were woken up by Daksha's outburst. Vedani looked up from the book that she was reading, narrowing her eyes to concentrate on her husband. "Who, Your Highness?" asked Shiva grudgingly. "Dilipa, that blight on humanity," said Daksha, barely concealing his loathing. Vedani continued to stare hard at her husband. She slowly reached out, pulled Sati's hand in hers, brought it close to her lips and kissed it gently. Then she put her other hand protectively on top of Sati's hand. Sati looked at her mother warmly with a hint of a smile and rested her tired head on Vedani's shoulders. "Who is Dilipa, Your Highness?" asked Shiva. "He is the Emperor of Swadeep," answered Daksha. "Everyone knows Sati is the apple of my eye, and they were possibly trying to kidnap her to force my hand." Shiva gazed at Daksha with sympathy. He could understand the outrage of the emperor at the latest Chandravanshi treachery, and to be reduced to the level of even using a Naga for this nefarious plan. said a furious Daksha. This just shows what the Chandravanshis are capable of. I don't know if the Naga was being used, Your Highness, said Shiva softly. It appeared as though he was the leader. Daksha, however, was too lost in his righteous anger to even explore Shiva's insinuation. The Naga may have been the leader of this particular platoon, my lord, but he would almost certainly be under the overall command of the Chandravanshis. No Naga can be a leader. They are cursed people born with horrific deformities and diseases in this birth, as a punishment for terrible crimes that they have committed in their previous birth. The Nagas are embarrassed to even show their face to anyone, but they have tremendous power and skills. Their presence strikes terror in the heart of all Meluhans and most Vedipans as well. The Chandravanshis have sunk low enough to even consort with those deformed demons. They hate us so much that they don't even realize the sins they are bringing on their own souls by interacting with the Nagas. Shiva, Sati and Virni continued to hear Daksha's ranting in silence. Turning towards Shiva, Daksha continued, "Do you see the kind of vermin we are up against, my lord? They have no code, no honor, and they outnumber us 10 to 1. We need your help, my lord. It's not just my people, but my family as well. We are in danger. Your Highness, I'll do all that I can to help you," said Shiva. "But I'm not a general. I cannot lead an army against the Chandravanshis. I'm just a simple tribal leader. What difference can one man make? At least let me announce your presence to the court and the people, my lord," urged Daksha. "Just spend a few weeks traveling through the empire. Your presence will raise the morale of the people. Look at the difference you made yesterday. We actually foiled a terrorist attack because of you, because of your presence of mind. Please let me announce your arrival. That is all I ask." Shiva looked at Daksha's earnest face with trepidation. He could feel Sati's and Virni's eyes on him, especially Sati's. "What am I getting myself into?" "All right," said Shiva in resignation. Daksha got up and hugged Shiva in an unyielding grip. "Thank you, my lord," exclaimed Daksha as Shiva withdrew from his embrace to come up for air. "I will announce your presence at the court tomorrow itself. Then you can leave for a tour of the empire in another 3 weeks. I'll personally make all the arrangements. You will have a full brigade traveling with you for security. Parvateshwar and Sati will accompany you as well." "No," protested Virni in a harsh tone that Sati had never heard her mother use. "Sati is not going anywhere. I am not going to allow you to put our daughter's life in danger. She is staying with me in Devagiri." "Virni, don't be silly," said Daksha calmly. "You really think that anything would happen to Sati if the Lord Neelkanth was around? She is at the safest when she is with the Lord. She is not going, and that is final," glared Virni in a firm voice, clutching Sati's hand tightly. Daksha turned towards Shiva, ignoring Virni. "Don't worry, my lord. I will have all the arrangements made. Parvateshwar and Sati will also travel with you. You will just have to restrain Sati sometimes." Shiva frowned, so did Sati. Daksha smiled genially. "My darling daughter has a tendency to be a little too brave at times. Like this one time, when she was just a child, she had jumped in all by herself with nothing but her short sword to save an old woman being attacked by a pack of wild dogs. She nearly got herself killed for her pains. It was one of the worst days of my life. I think it is the same impulsiveness which worries Veerni as well. Shiva looked at Sati. There was no expression on her face. That's why, continued Daksha, I am suggesting that you keep her restrained. Then there should be no problem. Shiva glanced again at Sati. He felt a surge of admiration coupled with boundless love he felt for her. She did what I could not do. The next morning, Shiva found himself seated next to Daksha in the Meluhan royal court. The magnificence of the court left him wonderstruck. Since this was a public building, the usual Meluhan ruins and understated designs had been bypassed. It was built next to the great public bath, while the platform had been constructed of the standard kiln bricks. The structure itself, including the floor, was made of teak wood, easily carved and shaped yet strong. Brawny wooden pillars had been laid into set grooves on the platform. The pillars had been extravagantly sculpted with celestial figures like Apsaras, Devas, and Rishis. Celestial nymphs, gods, and sages amongst others. An ornately carved wooden roof that had been inlaid with gold and silver designs crowned the top of the pillars. Pennants of the holy blue color and royal red color hung from the ceiling. Each niche on the walls had paintings depicting the life of Lord Ram. But Shiva had little time to admire the glorious architecture of the court. Daksha's expectations would be apparent in his speech and were causing him considerable discomfort. As many of you have heard, announced Daksha, there was another terrorist attack yesterday. The Chandravanshis tried to harm the royal family on the road from Mount Mandar to Devagiri. Murmurs of dismay filled the court. The question troubling everyone was how the Chandravanshis had discovered the route to Mount Mandar. Shiva, meanwhile, kept reminding himself that this was not a terrorist attack. It was just a kidnap attempt. The Chandravanshis had planned their attack with great deception, said Daksha, drowning out the murmurs with his booming voice. The talented architects of the court had designed the structure in a manner that any voice spoken from the royal platform resonated across the entire hall. But we beat them back. For the first time in decades, we beat back a cowardly terrorist attack. An exultant roar went up in the court at this announcement. They had beaten back open military assaults from the Chandravanshis before. But until this day, the Meluhans had found no answer to the dreaded terrorist strikes. For the terrorists usually launched surprise attacks on non-military locations and fled before the Suryavanshi soldiers could arrive. Raising his hand to quieten the crowd, Daksha continued, "We beat them back because the time for truth to triumph has finally arrived. We beat them back because we were led by Father Manu's messenger. We beat them back because our time for justice has come." The murmurs grew louder. Had the Neelkanth finally arrived? Everyone had heard the rumors, but nobody believed them. There had been too many false declarations in the past. Daksha raised his hand. He waited for just enough time for the anticipation to build up, and then jubilantly bellowed, "Yes, the rumors are true. Our Savior has come. The Neelkanth has come." Shiva winced at being put on display on the royal platform, with his cravat removed. The Meluhan elite thronged around him, their varying statements buzzing in Shiva's ears. "We had heard the rumors, my lord, but we never believed them to be true. We have nothing to fear any more, my lord. The days of evil are numbered." Where are you from, my lord? Mount Kailash. Where is that, my lord? I would like to take a pilgrimage there. Answering these repeated questions and being confronted by the blind faith of these people disturbed Shiva. The moment he had a chance, he requested Daksha for permission to leave the court. A few hours later, Shiva sat in the quiet comfort of his chamber, considering what had happened at the court. The cravat was back around his neck. By the holy lake, can I really deliver these people from their troubles? What did you say, my lord? Asked Nandi, who was sitting patiently at a distance. The fate of your people makes me anxious, said Shiva, loud enough for Nandi to hear. If there was one-on-one battle, I could take on any enemy to protect your people. But I'm no leader, and I am certainly not a destroyer of evil. I am sure that you can lead us to victory against anyone, my lord. You beat them back on the road to Devagiri. That was not a genuine victory, said Shiva dismissively. They were a small platoon aiming to kidnap, not to kill. If we face a well-organized and large army whose aim is to kill, the situation may be very different. If you ask me, it appears that Meluha is against some formidable and ruthless enemies. Your country does not need faith in just one man. That is not the answer. Your people need to adapt to the changing times. Maybe you are too innocent in your way of life to actually take on such a cold-blooded enemy. A new system is needed. I am not some god who will magically solve your problems. You are right, my lord, said Nandi, with all the conviction of a simple, lucky man not troubled by too many thoughts. A new system is required, and I obviously don't know what this new system should be. But I do understand one thing. More than 1,000 years back, we faced a similar situation, and Lord Ram came and taught us a better way. I'm sure that similarly you will lead us to a superior path. I'm no Lord Ram. Nandi, how can this fool even compare me to Lord Ram, the Maryada Purushottaman, the ideal man? You are better than Lord Ram, my lord, said Nandi. Stop this nonsense, Nandi. What have I done to even be compared with Lord Ram? Let alone be considered bettered. But you will do deeds that will please you above him, my lord. Just shut up. The preparations for Shiva's tour of the empire were in full swing. Shiva, however, still found time for Sati's dance lessons every afternoon. They were developing a quiet friendship. But Shiva agonized over the fact that while she showed respect, there was no softening of emotions in her or expression of feelings. In the meantime, Shiva's tribe had been summoned to Devagiri, where they were given comfortable accommodation and jobs. Bhadra, however, was not to stay with the Gunas. He had instead been assigned to accompany the Neelkanth on his voyage. Veerbhadra, when the hell did you get in this name? Shiva asked Bhadra, meeting him for the first time since his departure from Kashmir. Stupid reason, actually, smiled Bhadra, whose slight hump had disappeared completely, thanks to the magical Somras. On the journey here, I saved the caravan leader from a tiger attack. He gave me the title for a brave man before my name. You fought a tiger single-handed? Asked Shiva, clearly impressed. Bhadra nodded, feeling awkward. Well, then you really deserve to be called Veerbhadra. Yeah, right, smiled Bhadra, suddenly turning serious. The crazy label of destroyer of evil. Are you okay with this? You're not giving in to these pleas just because of your past, are you? I'm going with the flow right now, my friend. Something tells me that despite all my misgivings, I can actually help these people. These Meluhans are completely mad. no doubt, and I certainly can't do all that they expect of me. But I do feel that if I can make a difference, however small, I can reconcile with my past. If you're sure, then so am I. I will follow you anywhere. Don't follow, walk beside me. Veerbhadra laughed and embarrassed his friend. I missed you, Shiva. I missed you too. Let's meet in the garden in the afternoon. I've got a great batch of marijuana. It's a deal. Brahaspati too had sought permission to travel with Shiva. He explained that a Mesopotamian ship carrying some rare chemicals essential for a critical experiment was to dock at the port city of Karachapa soon. His team had to check and obtain those materials anyway. It would be a good idea to do this while traveling with Shiva. Daksha said that he had no problems with Brahaspati joining the tour if the Lord was okay with it. Shiva agreed enthusiastically to the suggestion. 3 weeks after the court announcement about the Neelkanth, the day finally dawned for Shiva's tour of the empire. On the morning of the day itself, Daksha walked into Shiva's chamber. You could have summoned me, Your Highness, said Shiva with a namaste. You did not need to come here. It is my pleasure to come to your chambers, my lord, smiled Daksha, returning Shiva's greeting with a low bow. I thought I would introduce the physician who would be traveling with your entourage. She arrived from Kashmir last night. Daksha moved aside to let his escort show the doctor into the room. Ayurvati, exclaimed Shiva, his face lit up in a brilliant smile. It's so good to see you again. The pleasure is all mine, my lord, beamed Ayurvati as she bent down to touch Shiva's feet. Shiva immediately moved back to neatly sidestep Ayurvati. I have told you before, Ayurvati, said Shiva. You are a giver of life. Please don't embarrass me by touching my feet. And you are the Neelkanth, my lord, the destroyer of evil, said Ayurvati with devotion. How can you deny me the privilege of being blessed by you? Shiva shook his head in despair and let Ayurvati touch his feet. He gently touched her head and blessed her. A few hours later, Shiva, Sati, Parvateshwar, Brahaspati, Ayurvati, Kritika, Nandi, and Veerbhadra set off. Accompanying them was a brigade of 1,500 soldiers, 25 handmaidens, and 50 support staff for their security and comfort. They planned to travel by road till the city of Kotdwar on the Bias River. From there, they would use boats to travel to the port city of Karachapa. Then they would move due east to the city of Lodal. Finally, they would move north by road to the inland delta of the Saraswati and then by boats back to Devagiri. Do subscribe to our e-teaching channel for further interesting videos and audiobooks. Give us a thumbs up if you like our videos and share with your friends and family. Comment us to improve our work better. Thank you.